Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Paranormal Research and Development. I'm your host, the Deuster. In case you haven't noticed, I changed the name of my channel, which was previously known as Cryptids and Critters Paranormal. I am changing directions on my research, and for the time being, I'm going to be concentrating on the UFO, UAP phenomenon, as well as the paranormal and maybe even the supernatural. Today I'm going to be talking about several missing persons cases that have occurred in Robertson County over the years. This will be part one of my series, Without a Trace. And the first one I'm going to be discussing is the Campbell disappearance up in Adams. Mrs. Lois Jean Campbell was last seen by her husband and son at her home near Adams, Tennessee, on April 21st, 1983. The father and son went to the field to work, and when they came home at lunchtime, they found the house empty. Mrs. Campbell's car was still in the driveway where she had parked it the day before. Her purse was gone, and the nightgown she was wearing the night before was lying on the bed. Miss Campbell's physical description was she stood 4 feet 11 inches tall, weighed about 140 pounds. Her hair was dyed black. She worked at the Dairy Queen in Springfield, and I knew her very well. She waited on me several times there used to be a popular hangout in Springfield back in the day, and I remember her very well. At the time of her disappearance, I was an officer in the Robertson County Rescue Squad, a volunteer organization, and we participated heavily in the search. We spent countless hours walking on the property, dragging farm ponds and wells in the immediate area, and any places you could possibly have hid a body. A few years ago, a human skull was found in a fence row very near the Campbell residence. It had a hole in it, and the jawbone was missing. There were no teeth present, so there was nothing to extract a DNA sample from. The origin of the hole in the skull is still a mystery to this day, but it could have been caused by farm equipment, though highly unlikely. Lois Jean Campbell, or her remains, have never been located. 13 months after the Campbell disappearance, a girl named Nancy Joanne Greer, who was 20 years old at the time, vanished from her home without a trace. Oddly, she lived just about 3 miles up the road in Adams from the Campbells. She was last seen at her home by her husband on May 22nd, 1984. She was last seen wearing a purple nightgown. Joanne stood 5 feet 7 inches tall, weighed about 145 pounds. She had shoulder-length, layered brown hair, and her teeth were slightly crooked. She was 7.5 months pregnant at the time of her disappearance. Strangely, she left her partial plate at home as well as her glasses, which she needed to be able to see. Evidence at her home indicated foul play. As I mentioned earlier, I was officer in the Robertson County Volunteer Rescue Squad and participated heavily in the search. I interviewed Joanne's grandmother, who between tears expressed grave concern that Joanne had been murdered by her husband, who she described as a mean man. While several of my team were conducting a search on the property, we asked his permission to drag the well, which was situated behind their mobile home. But instead of granting permission, he ordered us off the property and told us not to come back. To this day, Joanne or her remains have never been located. In doing research for my new book, which I'm going to be called Without a Trace, I contacted the Robertson County Sheriff's Department about accessing the files on both the Campbell and the Greer case, which are both 40-year-old cases. My request was turned down, as I was told both cases were still open. Can't you imagine that? Missing person case 40 years ago, and it's still an open case. Anyway, when I asked to speak to one of the detectives assigned to one of the cases, I got hung up on. I haven't had any contact with him since. Okay, the next one, the date was August 3rd, 2003. 45-year-old Teresa Patton allegedly left her home on Mudcat Road near Cedar Hill after a heated argument with her husband. Teresa made her living as a janitor in the Robertson County school system, and this was her only source of income, as her husband absolutely refused to work. This was not the first time she had left home following an argument, but she always came back a day or two later. This time it was different. This time she left home for good. 11 days later, her husband filed a missing persons report. On July 16th, 3 years after her disappearance, a hiker found some bones just north of Adams in the woods near the Red River campground. After determining they were human bones, he contacted his sheriff's department, who were working the Tennessee-Kentucky Threshold Show in Adams, and they led him to the scene. He led them to the scene. The bones and fragments of clothing were carefully collected and sent off to the Tennessee Crime Lab in hopes of identifying them. A few days later, the results came back indicating they belonged to Teresa Patton. An autopsy revealed that she had been stabbed. Suspicion immediately pointed to Teresa's husband, 61-year-old Eugene Patton, who had since moved to Macon County, Tennessee. He was arrested at his home in Lafayette for the slaying of his wife and lodged in the Robertson County Jail, where he faced first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder charges. Interrogation determined that Patton had raped a 16-year-old girl several years earlier, and Teresa had found out about it and had threatened to turn him in. This was established as the official motive for the murder of his wife. Patton was also indicted for the above rape and was held on a $500,000 bond. His court date was set for October 21st, 2016. And got some more research to do on that one, and I will follow up on this one when I do get a chance to go back to the archives and do a little more court case research. Another case that's going on is the disappearance of 21-year-old Jennifer Wicks and her 2-year-old daughter Adriana, who were last seen on March 25th, 2004 in Robertson County. Jennifer's mother filed a missing persons report on March 27th, 2024, and their whereabouts are still a mystery to this day. In 2013, the case was reclassified from a missing person case to a homicide, and is still under investigation. And because this is still an active case, I can't comment any further at this time. For those of you interested, there is a Facebook page called Justice for Jennifer and Adriana Wicks, where you can follow developments in the case and maybe provide some tips or any other related information that may be related to the case. I'm asking anyone with information about Jennifer and Adriana's case that has to contact Tennessee Bureau of Investigation at 1-800-TBI-FIND or email tips to tbi@tbi.tn.gov. Thank you for watching. Hope you've gained a little insight on these mysterious disappearances. I ask that you subscribe to my channel, give me a like, maybe leave some comments, and share with your friends and family. Once again, this is the Dooster of Paranormal Research and Development. Have a nice day, and we'll catch you later. And be on the lookout for part 2 of Without a Trace. Thank you.